And this is a pretty floral display in what look like Soviet architectural devices. So now in this picture, I guess that we're standing about right in here somewhere, or maybe even here. The houses that were along here have all been bombed out. After having 9/11 and seeing the carnage and the waste from that, the rubble, it's hard without watching a movie like The Pianist to appreciate how entire cities in Europe looked. We can see those houses, I believe, that we're talking about all throughout this area were wasted. And this is now a park, and that street we walked around with the lines showing the property boundaries. On Harju Street, which leads down to Freedom Square there, and down there where you see that blue awning somewhere between here and there was where Harju Gate was. So this area was converted into a park at some considerable effort and cost. The two most interesting places, of course, are up on top of Tumpea Hill, that tower we've looked at earlier, and there's that church that the Russians built to demonstrate their authority in this country. And the other significant part is down there to the sloping slightly to the left, where the city hall is, and we'll go down and explore that area now because I have not done it extensively yet. On both sides of the street we can see where structures apparently were, although this one is curious because it seems to go all the way across the street, blocking it. That raises an interesting question. Beyond us is the main square, I believe I visited off the cruise ship. Standing beside the old town hall, panning about. Notice that balcony up there has all the look of a place where important people would pontificate to the fawning crowds. For better information, I'm guessing that this began, or at least its precursors began here around 1248. Something happened in 1322, probably a restoration. Same thing in 1402 and 1404. And then I can only hope that these buildings reflect the past. But like Joan Rivers, they probably had so many facial reworks that it's difficult to know for certain what anything looked like at any particular time. The plaque on one of the buildings commemorating a man who was important, I believe, in the theater. But what's interesting is someone has purposely, intentionally, taped some pretty flowers on that, as you might do on a gravestone. Quite a little tribute, unnoticed by most perhaps. I believe was and is one of the oldest pharmacies in this country. And it's a museum of pharmacy, I believe. I'll visit it later, but probably not today. I'll wait until most tourists have died off after Sunday. It's tantalizing to wonder if this drainage stone is original. Here, I'll scratch it as much as we can look at without being obstructed by a restaurant. I'm sure it was important in the day for the town hall to have a high spire that was easily recognized from a distance. Now, whether these are truly old or not, I don't know. They almost look too camp. The clock itself being very inconspicuous. This is the town hall, and behind the buildings that are opposite the town hall is this spire. Notice how similar it is to the one on the town hall. Is it for a church or what? Don't know yet. Walk in there to explore. Now we're getting closer to it. And this curious little building here that looks like it was just plopped in. Looking through that passageway has brought us to another intersection, a Y intersection. It does look like a church with the date of 1410. With the exception of a loading window for goods and storage, this does look like that earlier building we saw. A beautiful clock. Looks like some pretty glass work. For the fun of it, I'm going to keep walking in the same direction that we came in that first tunneled area into this walk-through area. Resting on the sidewalk going in here. End of the Ice Age. First signs of human settlement in Estonia. Looks like this is set out like a timeline. So 10,500, 9,000 years, and then a considerable gap to about 3,500 years. Remember, this is just as or just before the first dynasty of Egypt's establishment in the Tallinn area. 3,000 years ago, that may have been those porpoise hunters. 1,500 years ago, a meteorite landed in Kaji on Sarome Island, creating several pockets or craters. There's mention of the city of Tartu at 1030. 1219, the Danes created Tallinn. 1843, St. George's Night Uprising. 1810, beginning of the Renaissance, the Great Guild Hall in Tallinn was completed, and the power of the merchants is defined. Almost 100 plus years, the Lutheran Reformation begins. 1800, the Great Northern Wall went on for 21 years. 1816 to 1819, serfdom abolished. Wow. It was just before the movement of the Oregon Trail people. In 1834, Osborne Russell, a trapper in Jackson Hole. 70, this is when the railroad from Jalisco or whatever to St. Petersburg opened. That means from here to St. Petersburg. And that's what precipitated that explosion of wooden residential unit construction in Kalnaja that we were at yesterday. 1882 electricity. 1805 revolution. 1814, 18 World War I. 1818 the Estonian Republic proclaimed. 1945 World War II, of course. 40 to 1991, 51 years under Soviet occupation. Tell me, some of them, they're not afraid of Russia. You're either blind or foolish. 1989 was the Baltic Way human chain linking the three states. In 2004, Estonia joined the European Union. And perhaps mentions shortly after that they joined NATO, and that's the most important thing. The walkway that we've pursued serendipitously is the history of Estonia and Tallinn.